we go. Welcome everyone. Shabbat Shalom. We are almost ready to begin with our lecture for this Shabbat, this post-Kiddush lecture with our friend Brian Scharfstein. I don't want to have a delay before we start with the lecture, so all I'm going to do is to welcome you, Brian, and I'm going to share with you his bio, and then I'm going to get out of the way. Brian Scharfstein is the Senior Director and co-owner of Canadian Footwear, the Foot and Lower Limb Clinic, and FootHealth Centers, with locations in both Winnipeg and Calgary. A proud Winnipegger, he has enjoyed a long career in business for over 5 decades. With a team of over 100 employees in their family business, Brian places the utmost importance on workplace safety and ensuring a secure shopping experience for the community. I can attest to that. In addition to his business leadership, Brian has been teaching nursing footcare classes for many years across various communities. He has managed footwear programs for diabetic patients in collaboration with nursing stations in Manitoba and Northwestern Ontario. With almost 35 years of foot care experience, he has worked in ambulatory and complicated wound care clinics at 2 Winnipeg hospitals. He's a member of the Scientific Planning Committee for the 2026 Wounds Canada. As a certified Canadian pedorthist, Brian specializes in managing foot complications associated with diabetes, arthritis, and Parkinson's. He also serves as footwear and orthotics benefit claims consultant for Canada Life. He is a past chair of the Winnipeg Chamber of Commerce and he has also served as Vice Chair of the Winnipeg Police Board. He is currently an active member of the Downtown Community Safety Partnership. Brian is also a member of the Manitoba Retail Security Task Force with the Retail Council of Canada. Brian's partner in life and business is Pam Siprick. They have 2 children, Erica and Macy, and 3 grandchildren, Piper, Lauren, and Leo. As a first installment of our Tikkun Olam Talks, Brian will be talking to us about his experience as a member of the Downtown Community Safety Partnership. Brian, please, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me here today. Quite excited to share what's been going on, certainly in Winnipeg and our downtown. The Downtown Community Safety Board, I will talk about that a little bit later. But I'd like to begin by telling you what this is all about. In our city today, and I hear it from other politicians and non, we're dealing with words are words, action is action. When there's not enough action, there's a lot of words going on. I also like to say right up front, I love Winnipeg. I've spent all of our career and my business history here, and I would say a lot of our success has to be because of the support that we've had from the community, not just in Winnipeg, but throughout Manitoba. And we wouldn't be successful without that support, so our goal is to give back. Our family business is actually just past 90 years in Winnipeg. And proud to say that the next generation, my younger daughter and my son-in-law, have taken over the company, and we're moving forward with sort of a new umbrella, just different things that we're doing. But what we've seen, and something in the last while, is called business interruption. For any of you that have been familiar with businesses, it's an insurance line that people have, business interruption. For us, business interruption is what gets in the way of all of us, whether you're grocery shopping, you're going to buy shoes, you're going to the doctor, whatever you're doing. If something is a distraction and gets in your way that's not positive, I think that is, we refer to that as business interruption. We're dealing today a lot with crime, vandalism, harassment, shoplifting. There's all these things that we hear about. And over the last 60 years that I've been involved in business, we think we've seen it all. There's certainly our cycles, and a lot of it has come back. But technology and just a lot of the issues that we see today make it that much worse, or make it different. Not so much worse, but different. The fact that we hear news within moments of when it happens. With the cell phones and technology, it has made us rethink how we talk to people and how we deal with them. I personally don't like surprises, but I would tell you that every day there's some kind of surprise. Hopefully it's a good one, but it's not always. And whether it's family or business, we have to deal with all of these things. And our number one goal, as in our bio says, is to make our work environment very safe for all the people that are in our business. And certainly in our discussions, we want people to feel safe when they leave their homes. I'm very focused on saying that you shouldn't have to get out of your car or into your car and have to look over your shoulders. We've never done that. For many of us, we grew up, we didn't lock our doors. Today, we don't think of those things. Are we going to go back to where we were? No, but I think that we can do some things that will work extremely well. Since my time at the Winnipeg Chamber, I was very fortunate to get involved on the police board. And in that role, I worked with governance, and I certainly saw things and started building relationships that were really important, not just with community, but also with the police chief, understanding how everything works. So whether it is police, or whether it's the downtown community safety, whether it's a retail council, all these things really tie together. And so it's important, and I will share some of that with you. Back to the business that we run, and what really lends into why I'm so passionate about safety is that my mother and father really built a business, and it was really focused so much on how you treat people. It had nothing to do with the product that we put out there, but how we made people feel when they would come into our establishment. And I think that whether, depending on the community that you're in, and not the big box so much, but there are family businesses. And we're very fortunate, but it's how people feel. And I saw something the other day on a video that I've taken out to our folks by a gentleman that came many, many years ago and started a small restaurant. And his success was built on the fact that it wasn't the food that he brought out. It was how people felt when he put that plate on the table. It's how people feel when you bring something and you greet them. And so we've stayed close to that recipe, and we try to make sure that we maintain that. And so when I talk to other small businesses or medium-sized businesses, this is a lot of what we talk about. We talk about concierges, and safety means that you step out of your establishment and you talk to people and you listen to people. And that really makes a difference. And I really believe that so much of what we're expecting when we go out to community or we ask community to come to us, it's all about building trust. You come into an environment, and trust is built on building relationships. Trust is built on providing experiences, but certainly, as the rabbi told us this morning, and it resonated certainly with me, is how people feel and why they come through the doors. And we're very lucky and we're fortunate that we see that. But things are changing. And so if I talk about the good news, the good news that's going on in Winnipeg right now, and the things you need to be aware of, there is a momentum and things that are happening right now. Things, just a small list of things that if you're not aware, you should be, that these things are going on in our downtown. That the Fairmont Hotel is being rebuilt right now. It closed down July 1st, and there is a lot of dollars and there's a lot of thought that's going into that. The new general manager that's there, I've met with him many times, he's become a good friend, and they're trying to build that kind of environment that's welcoming and warm and safe. There's the new Sutton Hotel that's going up beside the convention center. There's going to be an overpass. These things are all happening right now. We know about the Bay. We're not really sure the overall plan that's there. And a lot of what I am focused on is I want to see the whole plan. So much of what we hear, and I say everybody's got to be careful because you get an impression from the media. And the media has not been our best friend in all the endeavors that we're trying to do. We hear one side of the story, and as we all know, there's 3 sides, sometimes 4 sides to every story. So it really depends on who's sharing that story. So the Bay would be typical of that. The former Bank of Montreal, we know that there's lots going on in that area. It makes a difference. In the area that we're in, which is in the Exchange area, we have something called Market Lands, where the old police station used to be. And we're talking about downtown community safety, because when they came to see me about the Market Lands and wanted my opinion, I said, I want to know about safety. What are we doing to make sure that people can get out of their cars and come into the area? Well, their plan was to have security inside the building, and I said, that doesn't work. I said, if you don't do what we've done in the past, which is create an environment, we'll call it a kiosk that may be glassed in and warmed in the winter, but we need to be able to see the people in the street. We need to be able to be concierge and talk to people and welcome them. And I think that's really important. I think it was a step in the right direction, opening Portage and Main, my opinion, but we are seeing more and more people. Also, the other thing that's happening is there's a lot of affordable housing that's being blended through the Exchange in downtown. We're seeing rapidly growing opportunities for people to live downtown. And those that do live downtown, many of them really, really like them. And so these projects are going on. There's a lot more going on than we're being told and what we're telling the whole city. And I think that's really, really key for you to understand. One of the things I'm pushing for right now as well is that we need to change the brand, not only of our downtown, but we need to change the brand of our city. Depending, again, on what you read, I looked at this morning's paper, and 2 people crossing Canada with their bicycles had their bikes stolen. This hasn't happened anywhere else, but what does the rest of the country think about us? And how can we tolerate these things? And I think there's an opportunity, but that opportunity comes from the top down. I think that it's time for fresh leadership. We know that there are some people that are leaving council right now. We hope that we're going to get some new people that will come in, but it takes strong leadership and direction for us to all come together. Common sense, I think, is something that it's maybe lacking, but you need to know that I'm spending a lot of time just shaking people up and saying we got to have some common sense. We actually have to get people around the table and talk to each other. We have this responsibility. The police and the city and the province have never really invited businesses to sit at the table. If it's a criticism or part of creating a change, is the fact that of our 15 councillors, we do not have one councillor that's been in business. And so we're changing that. There are things that are going on, whether we have delegations showing up. It's really important that we take action in that area. I'm not a politician, but it's really important that we praise that and we push that forward. One of the other things that's going on in downtown that we really need to make sure that happens is people have to have their eyes open. They're not, we're all guilty. I see some people that are walking across a red light, looking at their cell phones or doing things and not looking around. We need to look at each other. And when I joined the Downtown Community Safety 3 years ago, quite interesting, because the first thing they taught me was something called humanizing, something that we're not doing and is not talked about or recognized. Certainly, again, by even a lot of our police, they are changing that. And the short story that I will tell you became meaningful to all the people in my organization. And this was when we had that cold burst in the spring. There was a week or 10 days where it was abnormally cold. And I happened to be in our downtown location, and all of a sudden I got flagged, when I say flagged, by my staff, because they know I'm involved, and I walk with, and I'm involved with downtown community. And they said, Brian, there's somebody who's just come in the front hallway. We can see them on the monitor. And I think that this might be a problem. I said, hold on a sec, let me go look. And I walked out into the front hallway, and there was this, I'll say, young person wrapped in a Blue Cross white blanket with a hoodie up and coming into the building and starting to head up our stairs into our front hallway. And I went out and I said to the person, are you okay? Hello, and are you okay? No response whatsoever, but he or she said to me, I need a break. Came out of the cold, needs a break. I said, well, come right in, not a problem. So they turned around and were going to sit on the step. And I said, no, don't sit on the step. I'm going to bring you a chair. And I have a chair on the side, and I brought that and put it against the back wall. And I said, come and sit in the chair. And then I went back, and they said, what are you doing? My staff is going, what are you doing? I said, just watch. And I went back, and I said, can I bring you a glass of water? No response again. So I went and brought water. They took the glass of water, drank the glass of water. Again, they're going, what are you doing? I said, well, just watch. And I walked back and I said, when you warm up and when you've had a break, I'd appreciate it if you moved along, because this is our entranceway. Didn't take more than about 2 minutes or so. This person got up and slowly walked out of the building. And I followed them out and saw them walk away. But I humanized this person. This person, I could have brought somebody in, I could have called security, I could have escalated the situation or de-escalated the situation. But the teachings for me from the downtown community safety was we have to humanize each other, we have to look and talk to people, something that seems to be lacking right now. It's an issue. And I think that as we change, and we're talking about this at all levels, in this past week, I've had the good fortune to meet with the police chief a couple of times, has become a good friend, developing relationships. I've had an opportunity to be briefed and talk to the Minister of Justice. I've spent some time with the Minister of Homelessness. These are all things that are impacting our downtown. And this has to change. And part of it has to be, the big key word right now is collaboration. If I had to give you one word to take away, it's collaboration. After that, it's about partnerships. But we're not all sitting around the table together, and we're certainly not taking the time to make sure that things work. We had a general manager at the Fairmont, the last one that left, and when he left Winnipeg, he and I met, because I like to do I'll call it an exit strategy. I wanted to know what his impressions were, because he got involved in Tourism Manitoba, Tourism Winnipeg. And I said, tell me what's right and tell me what's wrong. And he said, the problem is we have too many silos and we have too many resources. And each one of those resources has their own board of directors. Each one of them has their own financial input. They're all not-for-profits. We need to look at good, better, best in your city. And you have to make sure that if we're all going to sit around the table, that we have the best of each sitting around the table. And until we can get people all sitting around the table together, we're not going to achieve anything. And that's sort of what we've seen in the direction that things have been going in. And that really didn't work all that well. And so I think it's time for a change. And there's no question that it's happening right now. And I think that you need to be listening, yes, to media, but we want to have people having dialogue in their own homes. We want you at your breakfast table talking about these things. My wife, Pam, and I read the paper and we talk about this because, of course, with my involvement, there is no way that it could just be me. Anytime you get involved in community, it's your whole family that gets involved. So downtown community safety, just to give you an idea, we have, at present time, we have about 120 lived experience young people that are now employed by downtown community safety. This was started and funded by our provincial government. It was funded by, privately, a bit by one of the families that is doing the North Portage development. And this group of downtown community safety members, employees I might call them, all have. They've either been incarcerated, they've been involved with consumption, they've come through child and family, there's been all kinds of issue. I would tell you, if you could walk with us, and I spend some Thursday mornings and did through the winter, and we start at the Centennial Concert Hall and we walk down to Higgins Avenue, helping people and bringing people food. If you could see the passion that these people have when they're meeting these people. Now, how is that helping safety? Well, I think these are vulnerable people that we're serving that's there, but this is where a lot of the problem has, I'll say, frightened a lot of people coming downtown. But if we have 120 people out there right now, and they're covering all of the downtown, and that's 24/7. And so, all trained, I had to learn how to inject naloxone. I had to understand what the implications are. How do you talk to people? How do you humanize them? And we have a great group of people, but they're only one part of what that picture is all about. We have some that are driving around at night in the vans. I've done night drive arounds. I did that when I was on the police board, and as the police car would come around the corner, we saw people all go and hide. That's sort of the natural response. But when the downtown community safety van would come around the corner, people would all come from the hiding places and wanted to know if we had a bottle of water or a sandwich. Could we drive them somewhere? And it was really a whole different shift that we're seeing. And this is all very fresh and all very new right now. And that's 7 days a week. When I met with hopefully they're not vacating us. When I met with the police chief 2 days ago, the most encouraging thing that he said to me is that the new setup is that we're going to have visible safety 24/7, not just police. So they're coordinating between police service, downtown community safety. This is paramedics and ambulance. We are going to have people out there. The goal is going to be that when you get out of your car, not just going to an event, you should be able to come downtown. You should be able to go somewhere and know that you feel safety or see it at all times. And that will make a difference, and it is happening right now. This isn't being short-lived. DCSP, Downtown Community, well, in the rebranding, we have decided, as I'm part of that discussion, is just going to change the name. There will be no more Downtown Community Safety. It will be a Winnipeg Community Safety, because we know we have issues at most shopping centers. There isn't an area of town that things aren't being touched. So we're targeting at escalating the community safety up to about 300 people in the next couple of years. And that's rapidly moving in that direction. And again, when you see these people, they will be concierges and safety. No, they're not licensed, they're not carrying a weapon, they're not there to arrest, they're there to look at you, make eye contact, and make you feel safe. And I think that's the beginning of changing the reality of where we are and what we're doing. Because we can't change the brand of downtown if we can't change the reality. Now, I don't know whether you want to give me a show of hands. Do many of you, or do any of you go downtown to shop or support? Not too many.
No parking. Not anymore.
And I hear that from my contemporaries and friends, some that just won't come downtown.
Brian, I live downtown.
You live downtown. And I think the downtown is great, so thank you. And when I see people walking downtown, and it's more obvious when I see somebody walking their dog, I go, you must live downtown. You must live in the area. And I remember being in on one Sunday into the store, and I had a young couple, and they were chatting, and I said, what brings you to the neighborhood? And they said, we live across the street.
You know what the problem with our downtown is? I mean, I lived in Toronto, and Toronto's a huge city, but Toronto's downtown is a community, and we don't have a community downtown. We have businesses that are 9 to 5, and they close up, and we've got a street that is 4 lanes each way. Yonge Street is not 4 lanes each way. It's just, I mean, I know Winnipeg was supposed to be the Chicago of the North in the 30s, but things have changed now, and we just, I mean, I was downtown the other day, and there's a Dollarama on prime real estate. I mean, that doesn't make any sense to have prime real estate and put a Dollarama there. So, I mean, there's problems with our downtown.
The problems that are downtown has to do with the lack of, I'll say, leadership and visionaries. You know, we've had, you know, when I look at what Duff Roblin did, he was a visionary. When I think of people like Lloyd Axworthy, when I think of different leaders that we've had, they've done things on different scales. From a downtown perspective, and you're not wrong, but when they put bicycle lanes through the area that I have my business, I said, who planned this? Because it was nobody in Winnipeg. Let's wake up, people. We're a car city. We're not a bicycle city. And I'm a big believer in bikes. I think there's a place for it. It's really necessary. But I can't tell you that I'm going to go out for dinner in the middle of the winter and take my bike. And when they're cleaning bike lanes before they clean roads, that contributes to it. And should the Dollarama be there? Well, but the truth is that Mountain Equipment Co-op made a choice to be on Portage Avenue. Will they stay there? Probably not. Why did I open a new location, or my children open a location on
Lindenwoods.
on Keniston and Lindenwood Drive? Why? Because I have people that just don't want to go downtown. And so I am convinced that we can change that. We have to change that. And I would tell you, you're going to see something different over the weeks and months ahead. I'm not here to tell you to have faith in it, but it is happening. And the right people are talking. And that can't be achieved necessarily through our politicians. Yes, we live in a great city, and I believe in you've got to have city politics, even from our province. I certainly am not taking the left or the right and saying, hey, who's right and who's wrong. We just need to have action. We can talk about it forever, But I would say in all areas of our city, we have great business people here. We have great businesses that have been built amongst our communities. There isn't a demographic in our city that we don't work hard for, but things are going to change. We have different demographics and different things that are happening. We need to work together to do that. Number one problem, you know, I talk about no collaboration. The bigger problems we're poor communicators. We don't communicate with each other. If there's something that's going on, I don't want to hear about it after the fact. And for those, and I know we've got few business people in the room here, it really makes a difference as a business, if you can sit down and be part of the discussion before they take action, then we can actually contribute and be a part of it. They're not talking to the business people, and they don't talk to the residents necessarily. The downtown residents community has come to see me as well and said there's no consideration in talking. Some of the changes that are being made are not really being made with a follow-through. And again, it really depends what you're watching and what you hear. There are town hall meetings that you don't know about. There are things that are happening, but a lot of them are premeditated and planned, and so I'm not a big fan of the way things are being directed right now, but there is a real opportunity to change. We're looking for stronger leaders. Go ahead.
You said there are going to be people out there, not just police cars.
Yes.
In vans. Are they going to be recognizable? Will these people see them? They know who they are?
Yes.
You say that would bring people out to them.
Absolutely. So it's a great question because we have something called biz patrols downtown. And the biz patrols look like police. Downtown community safety.
Wear like a sign?
They're in a uniform. Downtown community safety project, we wear green. So we have green jackets, green hats. People have said to us, oh, those are kind of weird. You look like forest rangers. But clearly we're wearing green. And so it becomes a welcoming sign.
I have a question.
Yes, I was a little surprised when I was downtown to see the Marlborough Hotel was closed, and I was wondering if you have any updates on what's happening with that hotel.
That will be housing. That is going to be turned into housing. And again, we're dealing with a combination of federal, provincial, and city finances where they tell you what they're going to do, and they're making announcements of what, but they don't necessarily tell you as the community. If I didn't dig, if I didn't look, so what I've learned is that if I want to find out sometimes, I have to go to the City of Winnipeg site where they've created a video. I've got to go to police or I've got to go to province to be able to find the information. We do know for a fact that the Marlborough Hotel will be housing.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Hi. As you know, I've been working with First Nations for many years. And in fact, I took First Nations to Israel 5 or 6 times. My First Nations community is very religious. Many of them live downtown, and they're completely, they don't work as a group. They feel like they're lost downtown. Has there been a lot of effort to reach out to the leadership of these communities?
I will tell you firsthand that I'm in the lead and I'm part of reaching out. We now have the communities coming to us, coming to me, and saying, what can we do? So there was a time, I would say, good 20, 25% of the people that we see come through our facility are coming from reserves, and many of them have moved here, but they were not really taught how to deal with the city. So they really don't understand city living. And so through, I see them through healthcare, and we're building through healthcare called non-insured health benefits for First Nations. But I would tell you we have a lot of very capable, smart people within our Indigenous community that are making a difference. And so I have had the good fortune to meet a few of these leaders that you talk about. And right now, those that are acquiring, and it's a Manitoba problem, by the way. Because when you go to BC, Alberta, and Saskatchewan, we have a lot of Indigenous people that own farms that are doing things that make sense and that are becoming more and more independent. And so in Manitoba and in Winnipeg, we're focused on that right now. It's a matter of getting the right people around the table. Those are the challenges. It's the communication, and it's certainly making sure that the leadership is there. I don't want to say if I was younger, but maybe if I was 10 or 15 years younger, I might want to run for politics and maybe take this on. But at this point, family is more important to me. And so I've stayed on the outside of it and feel that myself and a few of our colleagues have to develop those relationships. So I'm focused on bringing people together, whether it is somebody who's in charge of streets and operations to wonder why we have some of these issues, to those politicians to find out who has good common sense and who we can actually have a conversation with, who we can bring in. Yes?
I'm probably one of the unique Jewish people who lives downtown. I've been downtown. I live on Ellis and Vaughan, which is right in the midst of the indigenous community and immigrants and refugees from Africa. I am very strongly Jewish. I make it known that I am. I'm in a building with 170 people. Only 4 of us are Jewish. And when I first moved down there, I was very, very pro-downtown. My friends all thought I was crazy. Now they think I'm even crazier for staying there. I walked everywhere, I did everything, and now when I use a walker, I'm scared to go outside. So I am literally in my building, in the walkway, which is safe, Portage Place, which has at least 4 or 5 security guards in this little space, and the perception of people who don't want to come down is that it's a community of indigenous and black people, and they're not interested in being in that environment. So it's kind of a racial thing, and I don't know how you get over that, because now the Bay is going to be a residence for indigenous people. We just had a meeting with True North, and the tower that they're building, residential tower, is going to be affordable housing, and a certain percentage of it is going to be for indigenous people and for refugees and immigrants. So I am okay with that. I don't have a problem, or I wouldn't be living there. But a lot of people are not okay with that. They don't want to come downtown and see that. And part of it is racial, and part of it is because of the perception that these people are all dangerous. How do you overcome that?
It has to start with communication. I need you to reach out to me and have a discussion, simply because you have to have somebody who's willing to lead the conversation. And that's part of the issue. Who do you talk to? Right now, who can you call? There aren't a lot of people, and they don't have the solution. We have to be able to change that reality and really do a mix. When I look at the board of directors for the exchange biz or for the downtown biz, have you ever had, now, who have you got, who's your counselor in the West End? Is that Sherry Rollins? Right. So I can tell you she's taking a step up.
No, Cindy.
Oh, Cindy, yes. And so you know who Sal Infantino is. He owns on Sargent, he ran for council last year, or 4 years ago. He has a place called XQ's, and I would say, and a Sargent, he's in the heart of it as well. And so he has been organizing with the councillors, and I would tell you that Minister of Justice, we are having meetings now to deal with these situations, not de-escalating or escalating. I mean, I would never stand here and say to you, oh, this is going on in other cities, just sort of suck it up, that's the way it is. Winnipeg is Winnipeg, and we are fixing it now. It's time. We are agreeing right now. It's time to stop the talk. We need input from you. We need your ideas, but we need to not talk about what we're going to do. When I headed into this project 3-4 years ago, I said, I don't want to hear about Winnipeg 2035. I don't want to hear about Winnipeg 2050. All these plans, they're all talking about them. I want to know what we're doing right now. What can we do right now that you'll see a difference in 3 months? We need to report, we need to communicate. There's got to be lots of good stuff going on right now. And there is, but we have to get a lot better about you having the confidence that we hear what you're saying. Because you're saying that and you're not wrong, but the fact is that we have to be able to respond. We have to say who's coming around the table. So when Minister of Justice reached out to me yesterday and said, I'd like to have a meeting with the business community in the Exchange and downtown, I said, that's fine, but I want no press there. Because they'll paint the wrong story. And it will be, the wrong people are there. And I said, these biz, and we as business owners in downtown Winnipeg pay a levy. I'm not sure if you're aware of that, but we all pay a separate tax just to be having a front door to be able to function in business. And there is a tax, it's called a biz levy. There's an academy biz levy, there's a cordon biz levy, we all pay, and in some cases they're watering flowers. They're cleaning the streets. And we're saying downtown, forget about the levy for fixing it up. What you need to do is take 100% of that money, which is a lot, and put it all into safety. Let's get more and more people out there. And that's really the next step of what I need you to understand is I'm saying as business owners, we have a responsibility. When I work with retail council, I'm saying if I go along St. James Street, for example, and you've got a shopping strip there, you can't just have somebody standing inside wearing a uniform. You have to engage and have your people going out into the parking lot. You have to have them being concierges and seeing things before they happen. The same way I had the opportunity to confront this young person to say, this isn't a problem, but it could be. I didn't need a police person coming and confronting this person. And so these biz levies and things, we're talking and we're going to the city and saying, as a group. And so I could mention the 12 people that are working with me. You know who all their businesses are. Some of them have had business here for decades, as long as, and they're all names that you know, and they're saying we don't want to work with necessarily the city, we have to partner. But we all have to be willing. We have a responsibility and obligation to partner at a certain level with the city and the province, and we're doing that right now downtown.
Hi, I live just across the bridge, and the bigger neighborhood is called West Broadway. I live in Armstrong's Point, but it's part of West Broadway. And it's an area in which there's a lot of concern around safety. But one of the bigger problems I see as a parent and a person, I'm on my neighborhood association board, is that resources that will be positive for the community, like funding for community centers, funding for new swimming pools, funding for youth activities. When you look at the map, when they show you the new developments and the new things that are happening, they're in a huge circle, and the inner city, like the core of the city, doesn't get those. Just the next time they show you where the new things are happening, look at that. And then ask yourself, if you have a young family in the middle of the city, where do your children go to swim? How do they get there? Where do they go to a community center? Is it safe for them to walk from their house to the nearest community center? Because when I moved with my family from Dorchester Avenue to Eastgate, it's a mile. My closest community center is a place where I have to walk my teenagers to. All right? Now, because I don't feel like my 15-year-olds are safe enough to walk to a closed community center, whereas when I lived on the other side in Crescentwood, it was safe enough. So as all of you are voting and thinking about your politicians and the businesses you support, think about, do you want a dense downtown, and do you want the people who pay the most taxes? Because the people in the inner city per capita, we're paying a lot of taxes, and yet that money is going to outer parts of the city. Now, I think everyone deserves access to community centers and pools and safety. I don't think that we should have to vote and say the people who live in the most densely settled parts of the city don't deserve to go to the pool. But when they close Happy Land Pool, they close the other pools in these areas where people don't have other access, and we all stand by and say that's okay, we are supporting this problem. Because once you have a bunch of teenagers who have nothing to do, they become adults who also have problems too in the inner city core, because we're not importing all the problems, right? A lot of the problems are people who have always lived there. So I want to invite everybody here, besides saying hello to people when you go downtown and appreciating this, because I go with my children to get shoes at your store, I appreciate you. I think you also need to recognize that when you look at what's happening in a diagram in the newspaper, look at what the politicians are putting their money towards, and think about what you want your downtown to look like, and ask them to fund the places that need more resources that are positive to the community building.
I appreciate very much what you're saying. Thank you. The problem is that the silent majority are not going to vote in the upcoming election. We know that as a matter of fact. If we don't have anybody strong to run against the current mayor, and you look at the lineup, people just won't vote. And I know for myself, I'm looking at who's running in certain areas, and I'm connecting with them and going, will you stand up in council and will you work on behalf of not your constituency or your ward, but on behalf of what you're talking about for the city? We know that just because zoning and the way things were laid out, it's cost more to build downtown. I have builders calling me and saying the sight lines and what they have to do are far too complicated, and that's why they're doing developments far away, because they can spread out and there's more land. So it's easier, they can see a return on their investment. So that's why you're seeing a lot of development and our resources going away from the downtown. I totally agree with you. We've got a great city. We've got to see numbers come, more population, not only coming downtown, but living downtown. And so I think that's huge. But we have to talk to the people that are going to be running. We have this election coming in October, and I would say, I would encourage all of you, reach out to me if you're not sure who to talk to, but talk to them before. Make sure that you and your friends and the people that are around you are voting. I certainly would say that myself and others are willing to come out and talk to groups anywhere in the city. Because if I can't recruit, if I can't get this room here to make the decision that at this year's election, you're actually going to do your homework, you're going to find out, is that person that's representing you truly representing you, or are they there because they can't get a job? I know it's a horrible thing to say, but I say we have people sitting around that table that I would never hire because there's no common sense. They're not really achieving what is in our best interest. And so I'm saying that the dialogue is different now. And what you're saying is important, and you talk about it here. Are you talking to your neighbors? And is there a group of you that can get together and hold your counselor accountable? Because I'm not sure that you're in favor of whoever it is that's representing you. And if that's not the case, then I'm looking for the 4 counselors that have left right now. And I'm actively meeting with them because I want to know that they're going to represent the city. Because we don't have the ability to have a voice for downtown.
I have a question.
Okay, we have only 2 more questions, maybe you and then my friend here,
Okay.
Mr. Cohen.
I was going to say something.
Sure.
I'm a perfect example, and I know a lot of people. We vote, we have to vote. I don't even read the pamphlets about what they're discussing. I'm thinking that if you could make a list, an individual list for each area, and you should run. I'm not going to run. You could go. And I'm indiscriminately voting, and
Yes.
there's a lot of people like me are voting for people. We don't even know what they're doing. We like them, or are you voting for them? This type of thing. If we had a list, distributed, say in my area, for example, I don't have kids. I don't have to worry about swimming pools and all that sort of thing, because I'm above that. But the point is, if I got something intelligent distributed to me, and I could say, these are the questions for my area that should be important, I would read that. And each area, even in your area, that are given to those people before they vote, so they can maybe understand. There's a lot of people like me are just voting for who they think should be whatever. And I think that's...
I've got a response to that too, but go ahead.
Simple question. Which is the worst problem in the core area of Winnipeg? When I say core, downtown, Portage Avenue, Main Street, your area where you're located, the exchange area. Is it addiction or is it mental health?
I think it's a combination. It's not one thing. It's a few different things that are the problem. And depending on who you're talking to, if I talk to the Minister of End Homelessness who's focused on opening an injection site, she has an opinion. But I would say I'm learning about the political side to say that they only tell you what they're told to tell you. They're not the leader. And so depending on where the influence comes from, that's what's making its way down to answer that question. I think the most important thing to take away, that I'd like you to take away, we're talking about it here. And so every day, half of my life is spent building this right now. The other half is because my kids have the business, I have to be available to them. But I would say I give probably 60% of my time in conversation, saying how can I put people together, and how can I make sure that if I'm walking into that meeting that we're having the right conversation, because the wrong conversation is taking place. I don't know if any of you have taken the time to watch what goes on in session for City Hall. If you ever go online or on TV and you pull it up or go online and pull it up, I would think that you would be horrified what you're watching. We have a few very smart people, but that's not what you're listening to. They're not dealing with these issues that are real issues that need to be dealt with right now. And that's part of the problem. The conversation isn't right. Downtown, it's a variety of problems. I think, and West End is a good example, because outside of the gates, when I watch what's going on in that area around Misericordia and all the development, we're watching a bad area that's shifting. And we've seen this in many cities, and I truly believe that shift will take place. Osborne right now, I'm seeing police presence. We're going to make sure that Wolseley area has visible DCSP, not from downtown, but we're going to move people into those areas so that you see what's going on. It's not acceptable. Yes, you're going to see people panhandling. You're going to be worried about things. That's not going to go away. That's not reality today. But we can have eyes on the street. And you all have to be eyes on the street, but you need to be aware. You don't necessarily need a pamphlet.
I'm in her area, and I don't even think of it.
No, and I think that's important, but you need to know who to call. I know that if you have your cell, you can go and download DCSP. And so if you download DCSP, there's a number that you can hit on your cell, and they will respond quickly. And they are connected to the police. And part of the problem is nobody wants to report. You say, why would I bother reporting something I've seen? Nothing's going to happen anyways. Well, there's some truth to that, but they keep data, and the amount of people that come out are based on the data of not reporting. It's a real problem. I don't even report as often as I should, because as it is where I live, we've got 24 people that are on a watch. And at 2 in the morning, when somebody's trying to break in one of the houses, we all know about it within 5 minutes. Because as a community, as a residential community, I'm saying from a business perspective, we have to be able to talk to each other. Big problem we have in this province called privacy rules. I can't get information on that perpetrator that's going around and stealing from all the stores. And I got in trouble for posting a picture from somebody who was shoplifting, and I put it on the outside window and said, "You're not welcome." I'm not supposed to be doing that. That breaks the privacy rules. We've got all these rules and regulations in place, but I'm saying to you, both as residents and as business owners, it's time to collaborate. We're doing something about it right now. And I'm not saying even have faith that we're doing something about it, because action is action. You are going to see a difference in the weeks ahead. And nobody is more passionate about it than I am. I'm giving a lot of my time. I don't have to be doing this, but I want to make sure that next generation of my daughter and son-in-law taking over our company with these locations that are in Winnipeg, bringing up my grandchildren, I want a safe Winnipeg. I want to see a safe downtown. I want to know whether it's Wolseley, Osborne, doesn't matter where it is. You shouldn't have to get out of your car and look over your shoulder and be worried. Shouldn't even be in our head, but that shouldn't happen. For many of us, we've got a past. We've seen what can be the different, but the world is different now, and we have to look at each other. We have to talk to each other. We have to be willing to give of our time to walk out into your front yard. And if you see something that's right, call. Even if it doesn't look right, make that call. Because if we don't stay on top of it, if we don't become more face-to-face and a little bit more I don't want to say aggressive, but if we're not partners, because I believe on my medical side, our patients have to be our partners. You can't depend on your doctor fixing it. You can't depend on the police fixing it. Police alone can't do it. And paramedics alone can't do it. And we can't do it. We have to get together and we have to identify how we can do things. You've got a family to take care of. I want them to be safe. You want to be safe, but you want to know that there are people out there watching for this 24/7. Because it's starting to happen, but if we don't tell you in the right way, if we don't communicate that to you, how do you know? All you're doing is reading the press, and half of what I'm reading is lies, because I'm showing up when I'm not invited, and I'm hearing things that are going on being put out by some politicians, and it's not true. It's smoke and mirrors. So you're not getting the real story. If you want the real story, you're going to have to speak up and participate, and the town hall meetings don't mean anything. Go to them and support them, but find out who your candidate is as a councillor. Find out who is the MLA in your area. Reach out to them. They wouldn't have a job if we weren't here. Invite your councillor to your house. Get them to come over and sit down and confront them face to face. I'm doing that with councillors that are not in my area. I want to know what they're going to do, not just for their area, but for the city. But I can't do that for everybody. You need to, if it concerns you, then you need to step up. And if you're not really sure, find somebody in your area. You're welcome to reach out to me at any time. I'm easy to get a hold of, and I will find somebody in your area, whether it's a counselor, I will connect you if you're looking for somebody to connect with. This is a problem. Yes, it is. It's solvable. We're working on it. And, you know, I won't say stand by and don't wait. There's no waiting here. We're going to do something about all of this right now.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, thank you, Brian, for this passionate presentation. I learned a lot. And thank you, everyone, for coming out. It's a very nice crowd. Thank you, everyone at home, for tuning in. And please stay tuned to future Tikkun Olam talks that we are going to bring to you right after Kiddush on Shabbat morning. Thank you, everyone. Shabbat Shalom u'mevorach. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Please be safe, and hope to see you soon.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you.